So what Deborah was saying, sort of social media. When you use social media, one of the best things you can do is send them to your website, and WordPress is your website. WordPress is not. It used to be just a blogging tool, and now it can be a lot more than that. It's your entire website, from sharing your portfolio, to blogging, for people to contact you, to learn more about you, to buy your photos. You can have, and you'll learn a little bit about that. But today I'm going to talk about really the core basics of WordPress. We're going to get down to really the little nitty-gritty. What is WordPress, and what am I looking at when I install it on my, make that my website. I'm not going to go into anything advanced because really you got to learn what to post and what's the page and what's the menu, what's appearance, and all these different things before you get to any of the advanced things like selling images. If there's enough time, I will go through a live demo, and then we'll also do some Q&A as well. So with that, this is me. You see me, but I'm now in two places. I am actually in the WordPress industry and the photography industry full time. I'm the community and blog wrangler. It's my official title. I'm basically the community manager and blogger for a company called Photocrati, who makes a WordPress theme, which is the look of your website, and WordPress plugins, which is functionality of your website. And all of our products are for photographers specifically. I am a dyslexic blogger, so I blog on a daily basis and get past that struggle. It's something that actually attracts a lot of my freelance business. The fact that I tell people that I'm not only a dyslexic blogger, but I'm actually a colorblind photographer. So two different things. And we'll talk about pages a little bit, but I put that on my about page, which helps me attract more business. So that's a little bit about me. I'm also an author. I've written and published, I'd say about 5 ebooks at this point. But you're not really here to learn about me as much as WordPress. But this is how you can contact me. I have some business cards as well for whoever wants it afterwards. So WordPress is your website. Again, we're going to talk about WordPress, the basics, the introduction to WordPress, and make it not so scary. Make it so that you feel a little bit more comfortable about going through the whole process. So here's an overview of what we're going to talk about. WordPress versus WordPress. Basically, there's 2 types of WordPress. So we're going to talk about what the differences are and what the advantages are of each. Well, you'll see the dashboard, which is your back end of the site. We'll talk about themes, which is the look of your site. Plugins, which is functionality of your site. Posts, which is basically blog posts or blog articles, whatever you want to call it. Pages, which is static content. Your galleries, basically your portfolio. And if time permitting, we'll go through blogging, some Q&A, and some demo time. Maybe not in that order, but we'll see. So WordPress versus WordPress. If you see the WordPress logo with a blue icon, then that is the .com version. If you see it with a sort of black logo, it's the .org version. So there's 2 different types. .com is actually hosted by a company called Automatic with 2 T's, or really 3 T's. Matic has 2 T's in it. And basically, they're the company that started what is WordPress.org. They started this software called WordPress, but they also created WordPress.com, which is basically like a Tumblr where you can go to and just get a free site. No strings attached. You can get a free site, and you'll see a little bit about what comes with that free site, but you're limited to what themes you can use. So you're limited to what your site could look like, and you're limited to what plugins you can use, so what functionality your website can have. .com does use the .org software, so it uses this software that they created to drive that free site. But the nice thing about .com is you don't have to worry about hosting it, you don't have to worry about maintenance, security, any of that stuff. They handle it all for you. .org, which is a logo on the right, is basically software that you can download. It's completely open source, which means you can develop to it, and you can develop to it, and everybody in this room can add to this software, whether it's actually coding something in the software or just contributing to the help documentation of how to use the software. If you contribute, you become a developer, a contributor to that software, and you're actually in the licensing of it. Your name gets included as someone who is part of the making of the software. So the beautiful thing about open source is the possibilities are literally endless. Anybody can add to it. It can become anything you want, and it's completely free. So with that, here's a nice comparison of the cost of having a .org versus having a .com. .org is on the left. Basically, .org is about $10 a year for the domain name. About $10. You go to GoDaddy, you can probably even get it for $7, $5, whatever it is. And it is around $7 a month for hosting. You can find it for $3 if you really want to. There's a variety of different hosts, and I'll talk about two ones that I recommend in the next slide. But so for $10 a year and about $7 a month, you can literally have an entire website, and it costs you less than $100. A lot of hosts will actually give you the domain name, so the yourdomain.com, yourphotography.com, for free for the first year if you sign up for hosting. So really, you could get $7 a month and not pay that $10 a year on top of it for the first year. The storage space, a lot of hosts are unlimited, so you can upload photos after photos after photos and not have to worry about running out of space. Think of it like your own personal cloud, like a Dropbox or a Google Drive or anything like that. Some hosts actually limit the amount of storage you have, but for the most part, they're unlimited. And there's no ads whatsoever, whereas .com has ads on every single blog post you do. Now this is a free site that they're giving you the WordPress software to use, and they're hosting it for you, but they're putting an ad on every single blog post. To get rid of it, they want $30 a year. You're also limited to about 3 gigs of space, which is pretty reasonable for the most part, but if you are going to really be doing a photo-intensive site, which photographers are going to, 3 gigs will run out pretty darn quick. And hosting, if you want a domain name, then it's $13 a year through WordPress. They don't give it to you for free. So with that, .org, which is what we're going to talk about really mostly today, is completely free, and then you just have to worry about the hosting of it, which is not terribly priced to get a website up and running. So the host that I recommend, there's 2. One is called SiteGround. SiteGround is, they're not a US company, but they have they have a whole headquarters in the United States as well. 24-hour, 7 days a week support. They're very quick with their support. They're very inexpensive. They start at $3.95 a month for their hosting. And they're what's considered a managed WordPress host. So you have a site like GoDaddy, a host like GoDaddy, which is very popular. Everyone's seen those Super Bowl ads. And it's very cheap, around the same price. But GoDaddy can be very unreliable as a host. They have very cheap hardware. They add hundreds and hundreds of websites from different customers on each server, which means if one website on that server is slowing down, so is yours. So everything affects each other. SiteGround is similar, what's called shared hosting, but it's a managed WordPress host. So they're actually maintaining this for you, making sure that if one site is slowing down, they move you to a different server so that you're faster. Or if there's an attack on the server, they're not telling you, OK, well, install security software. They're doing this for you. They're maintaining it, blocking attacks, hack attempts. They're making sure your site is always up. And it's just fantastic. And they have different levels, starting at $3.95 a month to like hundreds a month, depending on what level you need. WP Engine is also a managed WordPress host. They're more expensive. They're really for the website that's getting hundreds of thousands of visits a month, sites that are getting tons and tons of traffic. So if B&H's website was on WordPress, I would recommend them being on WP Engine. It also comes with a hefty price. WP Engine for a website, my personal website, is currently on WP Engine, and I'm paying about $1,500 a year on hosting. That's a lot of money compared to $3.95 a month. But if your website's getting a ton of traffic, you got to do what you got to do. And if you're not making the money to support that tons of traffic through your website, then obviously something you got to think about in that case. When it comes to actually installing WordPress, though, each host does it a different way. But either way, WordPress makes it very easy to install. So this is actually the installer through SiteGround. And it's called one-click install. You click Install WordPress. It brings up this field. You hit Proceed to the next screen. and it literally says name of your website, what do you want your username and password to be, and then you hit done, and it installs it for you. You don't have to think about it. They do it all for you. It's not really one click, it's a couple clicks, but it takes no time whatsoever. And a lot of hosts do this. A lot of them have what's called a one-click installer. But some hosts don't. Some of the not so popular, not WordPress-oriented hosts don't do that. But they give you the tools to still use WordPress. So WordPress has what's called a 5-minute installer. And it really takes a little bit more than 5 minutes if you don't know what you're doing. But basically, this is what it looks like. You have to set up on your host a database. And this is the part that takes the time, because if you don't know what you're doing, what's a database, right? So yes, it's a 5-minute installer, but this part takes a little bit. Once you have a database set up, you hit submit, takes you to the next screen, and you can actually put in the site title, the username, the password, and things like that. And then you hit install WordPress, and it's done. 5 minutes if you know how to set up a database. If you don't, and your host does not have a one-click installer, you can still contact your host support and say, can you please install this for me? They're going to do it for you. They're not going to say no. You're still paying them, whatever you're paying them, they're going to do it as a courtesy. I've never seen a host turn someone away. So either way, one way or another, WordPress is easy to install in the end as a paying customer of whatever host you're on. But this is the dashboard of WordPress. So after you actually install it, this is what it looks like. Out of the box, most people say, I don't know what to do. It's pretty confusing. There's a lot to look at right here. You've got all this stuff up here. What is this? What is this? What is this? All this crazy stuff in the center, and then you've got all of this on the side. So where do you start? So we're going to go through, first we're going to talk about just overall what is this part, and then we'll go through each and every single one of these because it's a little overwhelming. Basically, this what you see here in the center is what's called the WordPress dashboard. These are all dashboard widgets. Each of these items you can either hide or move around to your own liking. Me, I don't need to see the WordPress news. This is like literally, WordPress has a new version. Read about it. I don't need to see that, remove it, because you actually see a little updates section right here, and it'll actually tell you when there's an update anyway. So why do I need to see it here when I actually have it up here? Quick draft. I personally never use this. I know a lot of people who do. But basically what that is you have an idea. So you're here today, right? Let's say I gave you an idea for a new article to write. You don't have any content for it, but you have a couple notes that you want to include in this article you're going to write. You can just quickly put in the name of the article or the post and just a little bit of what you were thinking about, hit save draft, and it just saves the draft. Nothing's done with it. It's just saved, and you can go back to it later on when you get home later today, tomorrow, whenever. This top part is when you first install WordPress. It shows you a little bit about this, how to navigate through it, things like that. When you're ready, after you understand it more, you just hit dismiss, and it will never show again until the next major WordPress update, and then it'll show. At a glance is basically just, how many posts do you have published? How many pages do you have? How many comments are there? Are there any pending comments, waiting for your approval or reply or things like that? Tells you a little bit about what version you're running, what theme you have active, and on this one I'm actually blocking search engines. So this is a test site, and so it's telling me search engines are blocked. Google will not see it. So there's a little bit here, and as you'll see, there's other things that could be done with the dashboard. But basically, this is when you first log into WordPress, you see this every single time. So organizing it how it flows for you is very important. And you literally just drag and drop these in different ways, or the screen options button up here can actually hide them if you don't want to see it ever. So that's the dashboard. The next thing is updates. Right now, if I went to my test site, it's going to show no updates because there's literally no updates. But if there was an update, then there would be a number in red right next to the word updates. And it'll tell me how many updates there are. Is it a WordPress update? Is it a theme update? Is it a plugin update? What is it? Click on updates, and it tells you. It would say it right here, and then you just hit update, and you can update them all in bulk. Then there's the post tab, and So the all posts, and you're going to see more of this, a lot of these sections as we go later on, but I want to go through just what each thing is first. The first all posts is a list of posts. So this is every single post or article you either have published, saved as a draft, scheduled for the future, or published privately. You can publish a post privately, so it's not public on the blog, but it's still public so anybody can access it with the URL. So all posts will show you everything that you have either in queue or just published. Create new posts is when you hit add new, you're creating a new post. So you're creating a new article. You'll get to put in the title and the content of the post, and different things that relate to that content. Manage the categories is to manage post categories. So we'll talk a little bit about categories and tags, but basically. Category is like, is this a photograph, or is this news about your photography? Is this a story instead? So you can have different categories for different content types. A lot of wedding photographers will use categories as weddings, engagement, maternity, anything, and they'll segregate it, because then with a category you can actually link specifically to an archive inside that category, instead of linking to your entire article. So you get a wedding photographer gets contacted. They want to see more work, more recent weddings. So you just link them to the wedding category, and they can see it all without seeing the other non-related content. Tags, very similar. And we'll talk about this, but using tags and categories, you got to find your own way. There's no best practice for this. It's whatever works best for you. But basically, a tag is sort of like a keyword for your photo, but you're keywording blog content. The media library, this whole media tab. Basically, what it is media is images, PDFs, zip files, videos, anything that WordPress handles can be uploaded into the media library. So when you click on media, it's going to bring you to the library. It's a grid view at first. And you've got two different views you can look at. One's a grid, which is thumbnails, and the other is a list view, and you'll see this. And then add new is where you can actually upload new media. I don't recommend ever uploading videos, though, to your WordPress site, because it just takes up a lot of space, and now you're requiring your own WordPress site and your own server to drive that video, to the bandwidth to play that video. So instead of uploading video, if you ever do this, to WordPress, instead I recommend using Vimeo, YouTube, Wistia, any of those video social networks, and embedding it on a blog post. Related to that, WordPress actually uses what's called O-embed. So you can actually just grab the YouTube link, paste it into your blog article, just the URL, and then WordPress will convert it into a playable video on the front end. So it takes very little effort. Pages, it's very similar to posts, except there's no categories, no tags. This is because pages is static content that rarely changes. It's not specific to any genre normally, but a page could be your about page, your contact page, your portfolio page, anything like that. Anything that rarely changes is a page. And add new is where you can add new page. And add new pages and add new posts, they look very similar with minor differences. Differences being no categories, no posts, no categories, no tags in a page. And in a page, they use templates. And there's a hierarchy. So a template being, is this a blog template? Is this a page with a sidebar? Is this a page with no sidebar? Is this a home template? And hierarchy being, is this, so the way I use pages in hierarchy is basically my website / photography is my portfolio. It's my album of different parts of my portfolio. And then I have photography / places. So there's the hierarchy, photography / places. And places has only my landscapes and different places I've been, that part of my portfolio. So that's a big difference between posts and pages. Next is comments. And this is basically where if you get blog content and you have comments turned on, you can actually view the comments from the back end instead of having to go to the front end and look at the blog post. And you can reply and delete and mark as spam and do all that stuff right from the comments section. It's worth noting a lot of themes actually allow comments on pages as well, including the Photocrati theme, which is where I work. Our theme allows for comments on pages, but you can turn it off. Because really, some people prefer it, which is why we added it, but really you don't really need comments on pages because that content is static. Blog content is where you're getting most of your traffic, so you're going to want the interaction from people in comments. The Appearance tab has a lot inside of it. First is themes, and themes is basically the look of your website. So when you first install WordPress, it comes with a variety of themes, which you'll see, all named after years. So they started in 2010. The first theme they started naming after years was 2010, then 2011, 2012, etc. So each year they come out with a new theme that comes bundled with WordPress. So when you first install WordPress, you're going to see that. Some one-click installers from hosts, like GoDaddy, will install their own, what they consider essential WordPress themes. They also do that with plugins as well, which you'll see in the next slide. So a theme is the look of your website. You can change that with a click. You can change the look of your website super quick. Customize is what's called a customizer. It's a WordPress feature that is fairly new. It's only been in there for about two major versions, I think. You'll see what that looks like, but basically it's a quick way, I'll use that with quotes, a quick way for you to change the look of your website by colors or fonts or different layout features, different things on the front end, seeing it live, a preview live. And not every theme supports it because it's a very narrow strip on the left, which you'll see. And so to put a lot of the theme options in it, it gets very cluttered because it's such a narrow strip that you have to work with. So a lot of themes don't use it. WordPress, as of last month, are now requiring any free theme that you can download from WordPress.org to use that. And if you don't use it, they're not going to approve that theme to be on WordPress.org. So that's going to change very soon. People are going to find ways or developers are going to find ways to make that more intuitive. But right now, not every theme will use it. So and you'll see, even our theme doesn't use it currently. And you'll see the difference between what the customizer gives you versus what our theme does, as far as how much space you have to work with and what content we can show you to edit your site, the look of your website. Next is widgets. So just like how the dashboard had widgets, your theme might have widgets. Not every theme does, but the theme basically drives what widgets are available. For example, a sidebar most of the time you'll see a blog and it has a sidebar. Those are widgets. You can put different things like your recent blog post or your recent comments that people are talking about on your site. You can put links and you can put images, whatever you want, in these widgets. Sometimes there's footer widgets. So when you get to the bottom of the page, you see a bunch of footer widgets. There might be a header widget. There might be menu widgets. There's different ones that themes could make available. Next is menus. So the menu is the top. When you first go to the site, you see home, about, contact, portfolio, all these different items at the top. That's your menu. In WordPress, you can have multiple menus. And not only can you have multiple menus, but you can link internally or you can link externally. So we find a lot of photographers using WordPress combined with SmugMug. We have a product that makes it so you don't need SmugMug, but a lot of photographers still use both. And so they'll have their menu at the top, and then one of the links will go to SmugMug, so their SmugMug portfolio, rather than their WordPress portfolio. The next two items are very similar to the customizer option that I was talking about. Theme header and theme background. If the theme supports the customizer, they're most likely supporting the theme header and theme background feature. And basically, if you click on those, it launches the customizer specifically to the header and background options, allowing you to either change the color or change the background images for those different sections. For advanced users only, there's what's called edit theme files. This literally lets you change the code inside of the theme files. If you are not an advanced user, don't go to it. You make a change and you break it, your whole site goes down. So you don't go to it if you don't need to. There's even plugins you can install to hide that from yourself. So I don't recommend going to Editor inside of Appearance. Plugins is basically every plugin you're using on your site. So most of the time, WordPress comes bundled with a plugin called Akismet, which is a spam prevention plugin. It's disabled. You have to connect it to a WordPress.com account in order to get this feature. But there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of plugins you can add. Many of them are free. Some of them are paid. Just like themes, there's free ones and there's paid ones, and we'll talk about those. So within plugins, you can activate, disable, and delete plugins that you either using, not using, want to use, whatever. The next Add New is where you can install plugins from the WordPress.org or your computer. So if you buy a plugin, it's not going to be free for you to search for in the WordPress.org. So you have to download a zip file and upload it, and you can do it all within Add New. And then like themes for advanced users, you can edit plugin files. Again, don't go to it, because if you make a mistake, your site goes down. If you have multiple users, you want to have access to your site. So let's say you're a photography company and you have multiple photographers, and you want multiple photographers to have the ability to write content. So you can create multiple users, give them access to different areas of the site. Add new users where you would add that. All users where you can delete users and see who has an account, what roles they have. When you create a new account, you can actually say, I want this person to be a subscriber, meaning they have an account, they can't do anything. All they can do is log into the backend and see nothing. Then there's a contributor, which has access to add a new post and submit it for review, but they can't actually publish anything. Next is the editor, which actually can basically approve any post content that's submitted for review, write their own content and just publish it. They have access to actually publish anything. And author as well has access to manage or publish anything. And then admin. Really, you only want one admin, and that's the person who's controlling the site. So you want to be the admin for your own site. Because admins can change anything. Admins can change the plugins, change the appearance, whereas the others cannot. Next is the tools feature. This is pretty quick. There's a press this, what's called a bookmarklet. A bookmarklet is something you can add to your browser bar, your favorites. And you go to, let's say you go to BuzzFeed and you see a cool article that's related to your people that are reading your site or going to your website. You can hit the press this bookmarklet. It basically paraphrases, grabs a little snippet and an image for you to basically reblog part of that content, add your own introduction to it, and then basically publish a blog post with very minimal effort, and you're linking back to that BuzzFeed article or whatever article you're paraphrasing. When you go to Available Tools, it shows you how to use the press this, and it's very, very basic. And if you do use press this, you can't publish to someone else's because it's literally specific to your own website. If you want to go from Blogger, go from Tumblr, go from WordPress.com or any sort of other blogging platform, you can actually import from outside content management systems and blog platforms. There's some built into WordPress, and then there's the ability to add other importers from the same screen. And then there's also the ability to export from WordPress as well. So you can export. This is good for backups, a very basic backup. You can export your blog content, your links, your page content, and some other stuff. Then the general, a lot of this is set up for you when you first install WordPress. The site title, site description. So your photography is a site title, description, cool photography in New York City, whatever it is. You can set default blog post categories. So when WordPress first gets installed, the default category is called uncategorized. So in order to change the default, you need a new category, and then you need to just go to the general or the writing tab, and then you can change whatever the default category is. So mine is photography, because most of the time I'm blogging photographs. So mine is photography. Under reading, if you want your website to not just be a blog, right? So when you first install WordPress, it's a blog. You go to it, and then all of your articles are straight down the list. If you want your website to be more of a website and not a blog, you go to the reading section. you add first you add a page called home, and you add a page called blog, or news, or whatever you want to call your blog. And then you go to the reading section, and you can delegate what is the home page and what is the blog page. And that way, your website goes from a blog to a website. And it's you have more control over at that point, over the look of it, really. Next in discussion is commenting options. There's a wide range of commenting options, like do you want to be threaded comments? So someone hits reply to another comment, and it's just a straight list. But you know how Facebook now has you can reply to individual comments? Same thing in WordPress. You can either reply just straight down in general about the entire article, or you can reply to another commenter if threading is turned on. This is what's called pagination. So you can say, if there's 30 comments, make it 2 pages of comments. So there's a wide range of different commenting options. Do you want every comment to go out, or do you want every comment to be held for you to moderate and approve, deny, or mark as spam? Under media, there's ability to set default image sizes. By default, WordPress has pretty decent image sizes, but you can customize those to your liking. And there's also organization. By default, the WordPress media library is not very organized. It's either organized by an uploads folder, and everything's in one folder, or it's organized by year and then month. And I personally use year and month just because it sort of correlates with the posts that I'm putting out, so it sort of matches a little bit. But this is sort of where WordPress galleries, as we talk about galleries a little bit, kind of fall short, because you can't really organize well out of the box. But galleries can still work, just your images are sort of just where WordPress puts them. Next is permalinks. So permalinks, basically your .com / whatever that comes after, and whatever comes after the .com is what's called a slug. So by default, WordPress's permalinks is yourdomain.com / post1234. Not very intuitive for a human being to read, not very intuitive for Google to see and rank you well. So in permalinks, my first recommendation for everybody starting with WordPress, and this is very important, is to change that first thing first. Change that permalink to what's called post name. So permalinks is the last tab right here. Change it to what's called post name. That means whatever the blog post or the page is called, that's what the slug will be. So if your page is called about, the slug will be yourdomain.com / about. Much more readable for human beings and for search engines. So, what is a theme? I said this a couple times. Basically, a theme is the look of your website. So here's the appearance tab in the back end. And you can see that I've got a bunch of default WordPress themes installed. I mentioned different years. So this one's 2015. This is the most recent, 2014, 2013. You can see the big difference in designs over the years. This actually tells you how web design is changing simply by seeing what WordPress is doing as a default theme. If you saw 2011 and 2010, it's like as raw and basic as it gets. No color, no nothing. It's very boring. So this is the themes section. And as you add more themes, they fill up more areas. These squares just keep building up. Up here you can see you can add new, and you can also search install themes as well. So you got a couple things you can do here. But once you hit add new, you want to add a new theme. So this is what you see when you hit add new. Basically, it shows you some of the featured themes by default that are on WordPress.org, right inside of your own site. You don't have to leave your site. You can browse them all right there. You can see the most popular ones. So these are the ones that everybody's using. The most, WordPress is used on millions of sites. So the popular is really, you're going to see more of it like general bloggers are in the popular than anything else, because WordPress is used mostly by bloggers, but it's starting to transform from a blogging platform into a content management system. So basically a whole website system. But if you go to popular, you're probably going to see mostly blogging design type themes. But you can see like this could work okay for a photography site. Is it a photography-based theme? I don't know. You'd have to really look at. You can click on it and bring it all the details about the theme, preview it on your site, things like that. Latest will show you the latest free themes available on WordPress.org. You can also hit the feature filter. You can say, I want a theme that allows me to have a sidebar widget. And then it'll only show you themes with a sidebar widget. Or I want a theme that has the color blue in it, or the ability to change colors, things like that. So you've got different filters you can do. Or you can just go up here and just search for themes. So if you heard someone say, I really recommend you should look for the theme called XYZ. Just go up there, do a search for XYZ, and that theme will show up. Very simple. You don't have to leave WordPress. It's right there for you. But let's say you bought a theme, right? So you buy a theme because, and we'll talk about the difference between free and paid themes. But let's say you buy a theme. For example, the Photocrati theme is a paid theme. We have a free theme that's available, but we have the paid theme, which has a lot more features, a lot more design capabilities. So you buy that, and you want to add it to your site. So you can't do that from here, right from this spot, because it's not on WordPress.org. How are you going to add it? So the way you add it is upload theme right there. That little button at the top brings you to this screen, which has very little options. All you can do is search your computer for that zip file you just bought. Basically, that's what you're buying. You're buying a zip file with a bunch of code in it. Hit install now, and next thing you know, you've got, actually right here, you've got the Photocrati theme installed right here. So very simple. Either way, whether you're browsing for a free theme or you're uploading from your computer, it's very, very simple. So I talked a little bit about the customizer versus theme options, right? So customizer being that narrow strip to customize, to edit the look of the website, to edit the layout a little bit, or whatever options the theme gives you. This is what it looks like. This narrow strip right here is what's called the customizer. So this is the 2015 theme. This is a very basic theme that comes with WordPress right now. And then this is the customizer, where you can actually say, OK, I want to change the background image or the header image, or I want the colors to go from red to blue, or whatever it is. This is how much space you have to work with to customize that theme, right? Not that much space. It can be a little overwhelming because it's going to be very compact, very cluttered, versus something like this. So this is the Photocrati theme options panel. So this is what basically WordPress is saying. You're not allowed to do this anymore if you want a free theme. You have to use the customizer. But you can see that there's a lot more space to work with, and you've got some visual aids right here to say, OK, I want the sidebar I want a sidebar. I don't want a sidebar. I want my header to be on the left. Different things like that. You've got a lot more text area to put. You got some drop downs, some tabs up here. So you got a lot more space to work with, and there's a lot more ability to add visual aids to help the process of using a theme. So most premium themes right now are doing this type of thing, using a theme options page. But in the near future, you're going to see more of them using the customizer. So if you see one versus the other, don't get discouraged. Eventually, they're all going to be using that. And hopefully, either developers will say, OK, if you're forcing us to use the customizer, let's improve it. And then because WordPress is open source, anybody can improve the customizer. So either way, you've got ability to customize your theme. Let's talk about free versus premium themes. So free themes, easily located under appearance and themes. They're usually lightweight, very little options. So color, background image, header image, things like that. Free themes, or premium themes, typically are all-inclusive with many features. So for example, I'm going to just keep going back to Photocrati because it's so easy for me to talk about. Photocrati theme has a gallery system built in, separate from the WordPress gallery system. It's designed for photographers specifically. It also has e-commerce capability built in for you to sell your photos. So you'll never find a free theme that does that. You won't. WordPress won't allow it. So premium themes allow you to add more functionality. Free themes, typically available, like I said, from WordPress.org or the back end of your site. But a lot of developers also distribute free themes on their own. So some developers who also make premium themes We'll also distribute free ones just to sort of remarket the paid stuff to whoever downloads the free stuff. Because on WordPress.org or in your backend, typically it's discouraged to track who's using what. WordPress does that for you. Premium themes are paid, so the price could definitely range depending on where you go. Many times they're sold by developers or theme shops. Many times the paid ones are very well coded because they want to make sure that their reputation is really protected. So they'll hire a security company to audit their software, make sure everything's secure and things like that. Unfortunately, some developers don't go through that process and or any sort of code review process. So a lot of things go through the cracks and the code quality can be poor. Any free theme that goes on the WordPress directory goes through a WordPress theme review, code review. So anything that's free from WordPress.org or in your backend has gone through a review process. So typically, the code is safe. Paid themes, just do your research and make sure that they are doing security checks and that their reputation is good and when you do searches on social media and Google and et cetera. There is something called a theme shop, and I strongly recommend not going to what's called a theme shop or a theme store. Basically, a theme store is a store that sells themes or plugins from hundreds of thousands of developers. The problem with this is there's no code review process. You don't know who you're buying from. And time after time, the WordPress industry, who does best practices, is seeing very poor practices and malicious code put into the software. So I strongly recommend if you're going for a premium theme, go directly to the developer that sells direct to you and make sure you do checks to that the reputation is good. So picking a theme designed for your use and your genre. So you want a photography-based theme, make sure it's a theme designed for photographers specifically, not a theme that's designed for bloggers in general. This theme you see right here, it's called Responsive. It's a very popular theme, and it's one of the most popular themes out there, completely free, very flexible, but it's designed for general use, not for photographers specifically. So can it work for your site? For sure. Is it best for your site? That's up to you. Make sure there's a good reputation. There's different ways to check reviews and stats on WordPress. So if it's a free theme, there's reviews. You can see right here, there's star ratings. WordPress used to allow only stars. So you can just say 5 stars, submit. Now, if you want to do a star rating, you have to leave a review of some sort. So go beyond just the stars. Look at the actual reviews, what people are saying. See if the developers are replying to bad reviews. Why are people leaving bad reviews, and how are those developers replying? Make sure that there's a support thread as well. And I'll have a screenshot of that in a little bit. But there's a support thread. Any developers that have free products on WordPress.org, being a theme or a plugin, they're encouraged to offer some sort of free support to whoever's using their products. Not every developer does it, but it's encouraged. So make sure that the developer you're using, whose software you're using, is actually replying to support threads, whether they're saying, hey, I'm happy to give you support, but please buy a premium support package at my website and I'll give you support. A lot of developers do that. They'll do the theme for free, and how they'll make the money is they'll have free paid support, $15 a ticket, or $100 a year, and they'll give you support. So that might sound like a bait and switch type thing, but really it's just a one way to make free software and still make money. Because how else can you do free software and make money? So make sure they're answering threads, and make sure that if you do a Google search, there's some good reviews on Google, in social media, elsewhere. And last but not least, make sure that they're updating their theme regularly. WordPress changes. It used to be that WordPress made a major change about once a year. Now they're doing at least 2 major updates a year, and then a whole bunch of minor updates. So make sure that any theme that you're looking at that's free, or any plugin, and we'll talk about that too, is being updated. And there's a whole changelog tab when you look at these products. Make sure they're being updated for compatibility with WordPress, the most recent version, and also updates to their own software. Just, I found a bug, here's a fix, that type of thing. Here is the Menus tab. So this is basically what a menu looks like. It allows for multiple menus. And like I said, you can link internally. So here's all of your pages that are available. You can either show your recent page that you just created, view all pages, or you can search. If you've got a lot of pages, you can just do a search for the name of the page and it'll pop up. And you can add it to the menu over here, drag and drop to reorder it. Depending on your theme, you can automatically add it to the top menu or any other menu that's available to you. Links is where you can actually add external links. So if you want to link to to a small mug site, or if you want to link to your Yelp page for your photo business or anything like that, you can do that in the links section. And then categories is where you could actually add a specific category to your menu. So let's say you want a blog. So you want a blog link in the main menu, but then you want sub-menu items, which you can do. So you can have about, portfolio, and blog, and then below, when they hover over blog, a drop-down comes and it's weddings, engagement, and maternity, all under just the blog. And you're basically linking in the menu to just that category. So you can do that right in the Menus tab. Very, very easy. They made it very visual. It used to be a lot trickier, but now it's so smooth to make. And you can easily add new ones, and create a new menu. So you can easily add multiple menus and choose what you want to use at what point. Do you want to have one that's in the sidebar? Do you want one that's in the header? Do you want one that's in the footer? And have it in multiple places. This is the themes widget designation. So this theme in particular basically has one widget area. But there's a whole bunch of widgets you can use. So WordPress comes with a lot of widgets out of the box. For example, category widget, or your menu widget, a calendar, so your blog post calendar, recent posts, recent comments, stuff like that. Some plugins and some themes add their own. So here you can see, this is one of the products that Photocrati makes. It's called Next Gen Gallery. And we have 3 widgets that come included with our plugin. So you can see in the widget area, we've got the widgets. And all you would do is basically click and hold and drag it to where you want it to be in your widget area. It's very simple. And then some of them have settings. You can see recent posts has 1 setting, or 2 settings really. How many do you want to show, and do you want to show the dates? So some widgets have settings, some of them do not. Search has no settings. All it is you're dragging this to the widget, and now there's a search bar in your sidebar. Very simple. This is your plugins tab. So this is what it looks like. It's not as visual as the themes or the appearance tab that you saw. They're in the process of making this look prettier. But right now, you just get a list of what plugins you have available. And you can see that I've got 3 plugins. Contact Form 7, the most popular free contact form plugin out there. There's a lot of contact form plugins. But if you just want a very basic one that works very well, that's 100% free. You don't need much in it. You just want people to contact you. Contact Form 7 is the way to go. If you want an SEO plugin to add some additional SEO features on top of what WordPress can do, then WordPress SEO by Yoast. You can see the word Yoast right here. They make the best SEO plugin available by far. Very flexible. And then for better galleries than what WordPress can do, Next Gen Gallery also is here. This is the one that we make. And you'll see a little bit about that as well. So this is what it looks like when there's no plugins active. Right now, they're all disabled. So it says activate, 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 because nothing is active. It's all disabled. Once you activate it, you can see that the active ones are now a different shade. The background's blue, and it says deactivate next to the ones that are active. And when they're active, some plugins add things to the sidebar. So you can see Next Gen Gallery adds these little green boxes at the bottom left. One's Gallery, and then Next Gen Pro, which is our paid version, adds e-commerce features to sell your photos. So a lot of plugins will add these sort of extra fields to your admin sidebar. That's where you would go for those features. Just sort of how we're adding in our theme, we're adding a theme options at the top. So the top left, we've got our same green box. But when you go in to search for a plugin, you hit that Add New. It looks exactly like when you're searching for a theme. So again, you can search by popular featured, recommended, and favorites. Now, favorites is my favorite thing, only because I work on a lot of different WordPress sites. Basically, favorites means you can go to WordPress.org, create an account, which is free, and do a search for plugins that you think might be useful, and hit the little heart icon, and it saves it as a favorite of yours. Then within your own WordPress website, instead of you going up here and searching for those plugins all over again, you can just go to your favorites, type in your WordPress.org username, and it pulls up all of your favorite plugins in one shot. And you can do this on your site, on your friend's site, any site. It doesn't matter. You just put in your username, and you can search for your own favorites easily. So that's pretty cool. I use that a lot. And so this is what it looks like when you do the add plugins. If you went to the popular tab, you would see our plugin, NextGen Gallery, near the top of the list. We're very fortunate that it's one of the most popular plugins of all time for WordPress. And so we would show there. But this is basically what it looks like. If you want to buy a plugin, so let's say you bought the premium version of NextGen Gallery, or what we call NextGen Pro. Again, just sort of like a theme, you'd get a zip file with all the code inside. You would hit upload plugin. It would let you browse your computer for that plugin, just like you did with a theme. Hit upload, and then you can activate the plugin like any other plugin, because premium plugins are not on WordPress.org. So just like the theme, tips for picking a plugin, make sure it's created for your necessity. Don't install plugin XYZ just because you heard good things. Make sure it works for you, because if it's not going to work for you, why are you installing it? You need a contact plugin, you need an SEO plugin, you need a gallery plugin. What else do you need? What is going to make your life easier? There's booking plugins out there, so you can have somebody book time with you. There's editorial calendars, which we'll talk about a little bit. So there's a lot of different plugins. So again, check reputation. There's stars and reviews. There's stats. You can actually look at plugin stats of downloads, how many people are downloading it, are they using the latest version, how many downloads are there. You can see here there's over 1 million people using our plugin. So check to see, is this going to be a plugin that works for me, because I know the developer is active. They're doing something with it, not just putting it out there and just calling it a day. Check the changelog, check their stats, check the support, check the reviews. Make sure that everything that you want in a plugin is there for you. So again, free plugins versus premium plugins. Free plugins, the cost is 0. It's available on WordPress.org usually. Typically, you can get some sort of limited free support. It goes through a code review process. Every plugin does. That's on WordPress.org. Premium plugins typically comes with an annual fee. Annual fee instead of just a one-time fee, because they want that ongoing paid support and updates. They don't want to just sell you a product and say, we're going to give you lifetime support. It's just, as a business, that's not very effective. So typically, a premium plugin will have an annual fee. Many times it's affordable. Sometimes it's kind of pricey. So you get premium support. Instead of just going to a forum, you can actually email somebody typically with a premium plugin. Regular updates with new features. Typically a lot more features than what's in a free plugin. And typically very well coded as well. Again, avoid the plugin shops, the ones that sell plugins from hundreds and thousands of developers. Go straight to the source for the best quality that you can get. Something that you're going to see in the next slide might seem very, very silly. Might seem very silly because you're looking at one very tiny difference between WordPress versus WordPress. If you're looking at a theme or plugin and they spell WordPress with a lowercase p, there's something wrong, because developers that truly are involved in the WordPress community and understand its values, its ethics, its best practices, they definitely know how to spell WordPress. And if they get it wrong, my friend Christine is going to be very mad. My friend Christine named WordPress, I guess about 15 years ago, whatever. She let me make this little meme of her. But don't get Christine mad. just make sure that if you're talking about WordPress, use the capital P. And if you're buying a theme or plugin, or even using a free theme or plugin, make sure they're spelling WordPress correct. If they're not, why are they spelling it wrong? They need to understand WordPress. And if a developer can't understand it, they're missing something. Right? It seems silly, but it's actually very important. OK, we talked about themes, plugins. Let's talk about creating a blog post. So this is the Add New Blog Post screen. A post can be considered an article. A post can be considered whatever you want it to be, news, whatever. It is what you make it. But basically, this is what you use for blog content overall. Typically, content that is dated. There's something called evergreen content, which is content that can be reused over and over again, that never is outdated. And most themes actually do put a date with the blog article. Some themes allow you to hide that date. Why would you want to hide it? If you're talking about something that is really attractive to your target market, that cannot get outdated, that really it's evergreen, it's endless, then the date's not so important. But most of the time, blog content gets outdated. I post this wedding on this day, and now a year later that wedding's old. So it's not something you can reuse typically, unless you structure it in different ways. Basically, the blog content is something that you will attract new visitors, new readers, new subscribers, and new customers. Posts, they all appear on the blog page that you designate or that you just have when WordPress is installed. They're in date order, and it can contain an archive by category, by tag, or just by date. They have an archive as well. So at the top is where you actually add the title of your post and whatever your article is. Then there's the Add Media button, where you actually add photographs, images, galleries, whatever you want, built-in WordPress galleries. Then there's this little funky button right here. And this little bar is called the Tiny MCE bar. That's just the name of the software that WordPress uses to drive that. Basically, it's what looks like Microsoft Word, right? So bold things, italicized things, whatnot. But this drop-down actually will show you this stuff, the extra goodies down here. Click it again, it'll actually just hide it. But basically, that is your styling. So if you want a header that's bigger than the rest of the text, you can do that. But then you got your bullets over here, your quotes, your justification for things, all that kind of fun stuff. Sometimes when you copy and paste from Microsoft Word or Google Drive or stuff like that, you'll find some weird code mixed in. You can see there's visual versus text. Text is basically the HTML side of your blog content. But otherwise, it's all visual. You can literally drag an image here, and WordPress would put it in your post. But the text side is your HTML. So sometimes there's a conversion issue depending on the Word version you're using or Google Drive or something. And there's this little erase icon right here, which basically clears the styling completely from the incorrected copy-paste. So you can actually get rid of the strange copy-paste and make it fresh and then restyle it within WordPress. If you're using the most recent version of Word, and I'm seeing Google Drive get a little bit better with this, WordPress is actually fixing it for you automatically now. Yeah, and then you got here, this is what's called distraction-free. So let's say you want to write an article, and all of this stuff over here, which we'll talk about, is in your way. You don't want to see all the tabs over here. It's in your way. Distraction-free, goes full screen. As you start typing, everything disappears. Sort of like Doogie Howser. You see the cursor blinking. Pretty much the same thing, except you don't see the cursor. You just start typing, and you see what you're writing, and that's it. It's just a white screen. Over here, this is the Publish section. And this is where you can save a draft. You can make it private. You can make it public. You can schedule it out. You can see this Publish immediately. You can hit Edit and actually change when you want it to go out. I recommend coming up with 8 articles, 8 posts in one day. Right? Spend a day, come up with 8 articles. Schedule once a week for 8 weeks. Now you have 8 weeks of content that you spent a few hours on, hopefully, that you don't have to think about anymore, to the next 8 weeks, to the 9th week, really. You can spend those 8 weeks sharing it out on social media, emailing it to your email list, promoting it. So a good way to think about this is 20% of the time that you spend on your website marketing is 20% of writing the content, 80% promoting that content. So take a day, take a few hours in the day, write 8 articles, and then schedule it once a week for 8 weeks. I'm going to wait till the end, sorry. Next is format. This is something that is fairly new to WordPress. Not every theme uses it. But basically, a lot of themes that do use it, they style the blog content a little differently. So a quote, if you use the quote format, your entire post will have a gigantic quote at the top left of it. Or audio, well, actually, some themes will include an audio player built in. So all you do is paste the link for the MP3, and they style the audio player. But not every theme uses it. I don't find it very popular among themes, but it's an option. So if you don't see this when you install a theme, don't get discouraged. It's just they didn't support it. Next, categories up here. So you can see Uncategorize. It's a brand new site, so Uncategorize is there. You can easily add a new category or check off multiple categories. If you want the article to be in multiple, you can do that. Tags below, it is manually type in the tags. As you start building up a database of tags, it'll pre-fill as you start typing. So for example, if I'm blogging about WordPress, I'll type in Word, and then it'll finish it out for me. So I don't have to, saves me that millisecond. And then as you add tags, it adds it down here, and then you can just, if you make a mistake, you just hit the X and it'll go away. But with tags and categories, I strongly recommend to map out your strategy ahead of time. It's too easy to overdo it with tags and categories. I recommend keeping it simple. Find a way that it works for you. So the way I do it, I have basically, I have a few categories, but the bulk of my categories, photography, WordPress, because I blog about the 2 of those. And then my tags for photography is New York City, New Jersey, Baltimore, places I've been. That way, when I use a plugin called Related Posts, that Related Post plugin is actually sharing related content to that tag. So if someone's seeing a photo of Baltimore, I got another photo of Baltimore tagged with the same, WordPress is going to recommend them to read that article as well, or see that photo as well. So map out your strategy, figure out what's going to work for you, and then go with that. Then there's the featured image. So it's not too new of a feature, but I'm slowly seeing more themes support it. It's very important now that you use what's called the featured image, because basically what I'm about to tell you. Featured image is basically an image that is associated with an article or a page. They both use featured images. And that photo could be used, or that image could be used in any way that the theme or plugin chooses. And the featured image size is actually designated by the theme. So the theme could say, yes, use featured images, but only make it 50 by 50. Depending on the theme you use, they're delegating what that size is. In some themes, they allow you to change it, some they do not. And basically what it is most of the time the theme uses it so that when you go to a blog page, it shows you a little excerpt of the blog content, the title, and that featured image. So they get a preview, small preview of what the article is or what the photo is, the name of it, a little description, and then when you go to it, you see it nice and big. Some plugins, like WordPress SEO by Yoast, which I mentioned in the plugin slide, will actually use that featured image in what's called Open Graph. So this relates to social media. Facebook created what's called Open Graph, and it's basically what Facebook looks at when you share a link on Facebook. And it looks at the title, the description, and an image. So WordPress SEO by Yoast will actually use that featured image as the Open Graph image for Facebook to use. So in the article, instead of, if you've got 10 images, whatever one you set as featured image is what gets shared on Facebook automatically. People can change it, but by default, that's what gets shared. In our NextGen Gallery plugin, we actually have what's called Set NextGen Featured Image. So basically, we're allowing the theme to use an image from your NextGen Gallery instead of the WordPress media library. And so it's getting very important now to use. This is what it looks like when you hit Add Media on a blog post. So this is the media library. Up here you have Add Media, Create Gallery, Set Featured Image. You can do it from here. Insert from URL, and then we actually built into it as well. Import from URL. You put in a URL from another site. It'll literally import it into your site. To upload to this, if you notice, there's an Upload Files tab. All you do is you drag your images in bulk to it, and then WordPress uploads it for you. It's very simple. But when you add an image to a poster page, you want to include the title and alt text for each image. The title could be just the name of the photo. It's not required, though, to do this. I just strongly recommend it for search engine optimization. The alt text is more important than the title. In fact, you can even take that alt text and just copy it as the title if you really want to. If you have the IPTC and EXIF data, WordPress should see that as well. So it should automatically grab that if you're doing that in Lightroom or Photoshop. But basically, Google and Bing, they cannot see the image, really. They're seeing data. So they're seeing whatever you tell them. So by putting the alt text being a description, a very important keyword related to that image, you're helping your image do well on search engines. That's just one small component of image SEO. When you hit Create Gallery, this is what it looks like. You create a gallery, and all you can do is check off some boxes of what images you want, add captions to individual thumbnails, choose if you want to link to nowhere. So the thumbnail, small thumbnail links to nowhere. A small thumbnail links to the media file, being the image, or the small thumbnail links to what's called an attachment page. And the attachment page is just a page that WordPress has that you can hide if you don't use them. And it's just a page with your image on it that still looks like your site. Some photographers use it, some don't. I personally don't, but it's a personal preference of, as you start playing with it, is this beneficial? Is it not beneficial? It's up to you. The built-in gallery system is very basic, which is why we built the software we built. It's very basic. All you're doing is adding a thumbnail grid. If that's all you need, you don't want to sell, you don't want to have a better way to organize or manage your galleries, then simple, and it's free. It's built in. You don't have to do anything. There are some plugins that add a little bit more functionality to the built-in gallery system to change it from thumbnails to circles, like squares to circles, to make the masonry grid, things like that. Next-Gen Gallery, the software we make, it's actually separated from the WordPress media library completely, 100% separated. So you can't access Next-Gen Gallery from within here, really. It allows you to manage things in a much more organized way. You can even manage it in Lightroom and send it to Next-Gen Gallery. So you don't even have to touch WordPress to manage your portfolio. This is the Add New Page section, and looks very similar to posts, doesn't it? It looks very similar. A page is unlike a post in many ways, though, because it's static content. It's not something you're changing. It's not something that's really outdated ever. You're supposed to update it when something important changes. So if your portfolio changes, you're going to update your page with the updated portfolio. If you have a big award and you want to put on your About page, you're going to change it on your About page. If you get a new phone number, a new address, you can change it on your contact page. Stuff like that. So add new page, you put in the page name, your page content. Again, you can add images. You've got this whole fun thing over here where you can add the styling of your text. The green button is actually how you can add a Next-Gen Gallery. So we have our own button that we added to that field, and it'll bring up our gallery system that you can manage and insert from there. Just like posts, you can schedule pages. You can publish it. You can even make pages password protected. So if you want to have private galleries for people to do their proofing and then tell you what photos to edit, you can make it password protected, and now no one else can see it unless they have the password. Here's where you can have the hierarchy, so you can say a parent page. So if you want to have a page, /about/ contact, you could do that if you don't want its own pages. So you can have the hierarchy over here. And then you can also do the set featured image. So if someone shares, when you connect it to the Open Graph stuff, if someone shares that page, it shares whatever image you tell it to. So pages and posts, very similar, but also very different because one's static, one's not. Also in the page is the templates, which I mentioned a while back. So you can actually change what template is used for that page. So this is just an example of what the Photocry theme includes. We have one for home pages, specifically, one for shopping cart pages, and so on. So that's basically the gist of the core parts of WordPress. But one of the things that is sort of important to talk about when you're talking about the basics of WordPress is blogging, because it confuses so many people. What do you blog about? Do I have to blog? Is it important? It's very important. Blogging, what I like to say is blogging is like your everlasting gobstopper. So think of your blog like a journal. It's something that you're constantly updating. You're constantly sharing what's new with you, what's new with your work, what's new to benefit your target market, tips for your target market, things like that. But it's your not-so-secret marketing weapon, because you have this free blogging system at your disposal, and you've got basically unlimited ways that you can attract traffic to your site. Because statistics show 70% of traffic comes from blog content, more than anything else. Blog content is better for SEO, for search engine optimization, than static content, because of many different reasons. But, and we'll talk about that in a second, but basically 70% of traffic, they're going to come right to your blog, some sort of blog post. 15% of the traffic that goes right to your homepage is going right to your blog anyway, because they want to see, is this person blogging regularly, and are they blogging about something that's going to benefit me? And potential clients will also look at your blog before they even look at your portfolio. And that's huge, because yes, you want your portfolio to shine, but you also want your blog to support that portfolio because of this. So one of the reasons why search engines love blog content is because blogging generates discussion. Discussion on your site with comments, discussion on social media. Discussion generates movement. You get more stuff going on your site. It catches the attention of the search engines. Search engines are going to rank you well. So this is one of the factors that goes into search engine optimization. It's such a confusing topic, but very, very important. You want to blog. I know it's a struggle for so many. You just got to find your method to the madness. And I'll have some different tricks. So what the heck do I blog about? And that's a really, really, really great question. Basically, you want to blog for customers. That's what you want to blog about. I don't care what it is that your site's going to be. Your customers, your target market, is who you're blogging for. You're talking about your new products, your new services, all this great stuff that I put here is what you want to blog about. So I know this is very general. It's hard to really correlate that to what you do. Just by a show of hands, how many people do weddings? OK, that's a pretty good amount. So blogging as a wedding photographer. Wedding photography is the easiest to talk about when you talk about marketing or websites and things like that. It's just so easy to talk about. Here's some of the stuff that you can blog about as a wedding photographer. Recent weddings, fashion advice. A lot of people don't think about that. Fashion advice, because your brides want to know what's great for wedding dresses, what's great for the bridesmaid dresses to complement the ivory wedding dress or the white wedding dress or the black wedding dress, whatever it is. What complements what? What shoes do you recommend? Stuff like that. Recommended color schemes, so floral color schemes, cake flavor combinations. Brides want to know. Awesome venues you photographed. That helps not only your brides, but it also helps to network with those venues. If you blog about the venues, you now could attract a new business partner that'll recommend you. Your recent travels, talk about some personal stuff too. Take away from just, pushing this is about you, this is about you. Let's talk a little bit about me, because as a wedding photographer, you want to get to know me so that I can help you. And if we don't click, then why are you going to hire me, right? So you got to talk about yourself. If I've got a friend who makes a living photographing tattooed couples, that's his specialty. And when he blogs about stuff related to his own personal tattoo stuff. He goes to tattoo conventions and blogs about the tattoo conventions because it's attracting his target market. So he's not just talking about how he can help these couples, but he's talking about a little bit about himself, about his personal activity around that same sort of niche. So basically anything that your customers want to read about will be helpful. And you can even, talking about, for example, cake flavor combinations, go to a bakery and ask them for their top 5 wedding cake advice, tips or flavor combinations, and have them guest blog it on your site. Have that voice come from them instead of you. You can have multiple users, right, on WordPress. So make a user for them, let them write this, and now you have these 5 great tips from someone that you're now partnering with. Now you can promote this content to your brides, and they're going to promote it to their customers. So they're sending their customers to your site because they wrote the article for you. And they might ask you to do the same for them, as an exchange. So there's lots of stuff you can blog about, as long as it's your target market. So what do you blog about? What do you photograph? And how do you want to make money? Once you know that, finding topics comes easier. Once you know what your target market is, finding topics comes easier. So blogging itself can be a little overwhelming, not only finding topics, and not everybody's a great writer, not everybody enjoys writing. So one way to keep organized is to do what's called an editorial calendar. And there's multiple ways to do this. You can use Google Calendar, free. You can use iCal, free. You can use a free plugin, which is what this one is, called WordPress Editorial Plugin, which basically shows you your drafts and your posts, your published posts and your scheduled posts, and you can literally drag and drop of where you want it to go. So this is actually mine. This is a while back, but it actually allows me to see, when I'm scheduled out, how far in advance am I scheduled out? Remember I said 8 articles scheduled out 8 weeks? It's a lot of content. I did this in a day and just scheduled it out. So WordPress Editorial Calendar is great. I used to use that all the time. Now I use a paid software called CoSchedule. And I use this because not only can I do the same thing, drag and drop my editorial calendar, it also allows me to see that in Google Calendar. So on my phone, I can see when I have posts scheduled. Or in fact, I can even see when CoSchedule connects to social media, so I can see when the social aspect is scheduled to go out too. So CoSchedule allows me to have posts go out to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Tumblr, a variety of different places. So CoSchedule starts, I think, at like $100 a year. It's not terribly expensive, but to get started within WordPress, use WordPress Editorial Calendar because it's completely free. So what can a blogging schedule look like? This is my personal blogging schedule. At Photocrati, we do it once a week. Every Tuesday, we blog. Almost every Tuesday on our various blogs. But mine is I publish a photo or article every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. I did research and found out that my visitors are on my site at 8 a.m. So if they go to my site and they see a new article, they're going to read it. I share on social channels right away. Right away. It goes out to all the important social channels where I know my target market is. I add to a software called Buffer App, which allows me to repost in the future. I now have CoSchedule as well in that mix, which allows me to schedule that ahead of time. I email my blog subscribers the night the articles go out. So if I skip a Thursday, an email does not go out, or if I skip a Tuesday, et cetera. But the night, 7 p.m., when an article goes out, an email goes out to my email subscribers saying, hey, a new article, you might have missed it. Here's the article. It's the entire article. They can either read it in the email or click and go to my website. Either way, they're reading my content. I don't care how they read it. They're reading it. And then the first week of every month, I send one email with every article from the previous month. So people who missed the individual ones will get just a summary of all of them. With blogging, you also want to use compelling media. I call this adding context to your content. So I was photographing this abandoned, what used to be abandoned, now it's restored, mill that had a lot of child labor issues back in the days. And this is in Massachusetts. And I was walking around and photographing it, and I wanted to basically show how I was photographing this scene that you see in this video, this YouTube video. So I just took out my phone, had my earbuds, and videotaped what I was doing and why. And this is a very successful article on my site because it added behind-the-scenes content to showing the end result. So below the video, it was a little bit more text, and then this gorgeous photo showing the end result. People could see how I did it, why I did it, and then the techniques I used to make the photo in the end. Some blog management tips. Always brainstorm and log. So a lot of you have notepads. You might have some notes right now. Things might come to you as you're leaving, the subway ride home, whatever. Log it somewhere. Write it down. Put it in your phone. I personally use Evernote. I find that most efficient for myself. Set aside a block of time to write. I'm very fortunate that my job is to do this for a living, so my time is pretty much whenever I need. I don't need to set aside a block of time anymore. I used to do it every Monday morning. I would just get up. Everybody hates Mondays. I would set aside the time and just write. And then when I was done, I'd figure it out in the editorial calendar and schedule it. Close everything on your computer. Everything. Don't have any distractions. Apple even has, like at the top right, Apple has a little notification bar now that you can expand. There's a way you can actually go to Do Not Disturb, just like you can do on your phone. So you go to Do Not Disturb mode and just block everything. I use IA Writer, which is, remember I was talking about that distraction-free mode about blog in WordPress? IA Writer is basically that offline. So I can do it from anywhere, my iPad, my phone, or my desktop. I can write without any distractions. It takes over the whole computer. Create blog drafts for each article. So as you're done, create the drafts. Get them all organized. Then go back to them and fine-tune them. Fix any typos, use spell check, get the images in place, and then schedule. And then once you're all done, promote the articles. I said 20% is writing it, 80% is promoting it. So schedule that block of time ahead of time. My best blogging advice is to add as much value to the content that you create. Promote it to the best of your ability. Be personal about it. Be passionate about it. Keep doing it. Don't stop, because once you start blogging and you start getting a readership, people are going to expect it. They're going to go to your site or subscribe through RSS or by email, and they're going to expect to see something on a consistent basis. So once you start, don't stop. Unless you then blog saying, I'm stopping blogging. Then you can stop. But don't just stop. Or if you're going on vacation and you know you're not going to be blogging for a little bit, write a very short blog article. Hey, I'm going away. I'm taking a little sabbatical. Be back in 3 weeks. See you then, or something like that. Or if you're going away, schedule stuff for when you're away. CoSchedule and Buffer created this really cool social graph, which I now utilize. And CoSchedule actually built their software for this method, which is a beautiful thing. So on Publish, I am posting to Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. Every single time an article gets published, it's going to those 3 places. I also have it going to LinkedIn as well, because a lot of my customers are also businesses, so that's a place for me to go. Social media, go where your customers go. This is sort of off track a little bit. Go where your customers go. Don't just join every social media network because people say so. Do some research and see where your customers are, and that's where you should spend the most time, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or Google+, wherever. So right away it gets published there. 2 hours later, it goes out to Twitter again, because Twitter is too easy to lose track. Everything gets lost in that mix of all those millions of tweets that are out there. The next day, I post to Twitter again. And then the following week, I go to Twitter and Google+. And then the following month, to Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. Again. And then 2 months later, you can do whatever you want. From there, you can start again, whatever. But reposting your content over and over again is good because, for one, you can get lost in the mix. Facebook has the worst algorithms. They're completely against you. I should say they're the smartest algorithms because it helps them make money, but Facebook is designed, they're showing you less than 1%, or they're showing your audience, your Facebook page likes, less than 1% of your content. They want you to pay to see it, just to let everybody see it. So it used to be it was 80% would see it, and then slowly they got more venture capitalists behind them, and that slowly went down and down and down. Eventually it was 2% for a good 3 years. It was like 2% of the content was seen, and now it's less than 1%. So sharing it multiple times helps those who didn't see it in the first place to see it later on. There's a really good article that I compiled from 7 experts in the photography, blogging, marketing space. And if you just do a Google search for Photocracy Finding the Time, you'll see this article. It's very valuable. It'll help those who are that are struggling with blogging and social media find time management solutions, whether it's software or just mentally preparing yourself for it. And there's actually 2 videos as well at the bottom as like an extra bonus. So I definitely recommend that to see that. Again, just search for Photocracy Finding the Time on Google, and it'll come up. I'm going to pass this around. I'll start here. Basically, if you want to get any of these documents, basically I have, just put your email address on this if you want it. Basically, we have an ebook, Supercharge Your Photography Website. We have it free on the site, but anybody who can give me an email address, I'll send all 3 in one shot, so you don't have to sign up multiple times. We have super useful plugins for creative WordPress websites. These are all plugins that I strongly recommend for photography websites, all compiled in one easy to understand PDF. And not only do I talk about what plugins, but I talk about how they are beneficial. And then this is fairly new. Anybody watch Creative Live? A lot. OK, cool. So Jared Platt is a very well-known instructor, photographer, does a lot of Lightroom instruction. He just finished up a whole course on workflow in Lightroom CC, Lightroom 6, and he talked about how to send from your Lightroom to your Next-Gen Gallery plugin on WordPress. And right before he demoed that, he interviewed me on Creative Live, and we talked about this. So we made a document available called Be Smart with Image SEO. And basically the bullet points are simplified. We simplify it in here, and then we have a URL at the bottom which goes into full detail about it all. So I'm going to give all 3 of these to you. They're completely free. All I need is your email address, and I can send it. If you want to learn more about WordPress outside of, on social media, there's 3 different channels you can go to. I started the first one on Facebook. That's starting to grow, and I think we're at about 60 or so members, all specific for photographers. The Google Plus one has been around for a while now. That one, obviously, the URL sucks because Google Plus hasn't really smartened up with their URLs yet. And there's one on 500px. Anybody on 500px?
Had it for a little while.
So 500px, there's groups. They're fairly new, very, very basic, but there's a group there as well. In fact, if you follow me on 500px, at Scott Wyden, I'm an editor this month, and follow me and go to my Facebook page and share your 500px link, and maybe you'll get an editor's choice. So this is the test site I created for WordPress. Very, very basic. If I go into activate Next-Gen Gallery and Next-Gen Pro, so now it's activated. I can go in and we built this whole system. OK, it's already set. That allows me to have e-commerce beautifully on any site. So I'm going to just do quick portfolio. So I'm going to hit this green button. Now I showed you that before with the media library, you're very limited to thumbnails of what you can do with your portfolio. With Next-Gen, you're not limited really at all. Go and create a new gallery. You can see it looks very different. See all of those different display styles? It's very visual. You've got a masonry gallery. You've got some grids, some slideshows, all these different types of things. But I'm going to go to Add a New Gallery and quickly find some photos to use. And I'm just going to take all these photos and drag it into the uploader and upload these. And takes a little bit, depending on the size of your photos. You can see I've got some pretty big photos. I do recommend not using gigantic photos. And I talk about that in the image SEO document. And then I just uploaded it. It's done. Got an alert saying it's done. I want to display a gallery, and I want to do a masonry gallery. Choose that gallery, and then I can just hit done, publish, and now on the front end, I've got a nice masonry gallery on this page. It took me like no time whatsoever. And when I click on the image, it brings up this beautiful screen, which can actually be, with the F key, can be full screen. It's also full screen on your iPhones and Androids and stuff like that. So it's what's called responsive. This is also very important with your whatever theme you choose. As of April 24th, Google is requiring themes, websites, not themes, but websites to be what's called responsive. Meaning, as I make the browser shorter, you want everything to still look good, to shrink down, and to look good and aesthetically pleasing for mobile devices, functional on mobile devices. That's the only way your website's going to rank well now. If you're not responsive, your website will not rank well. So whatever theme you're looking for, if you're looking at a free theme, remember there was that quick filter section at the top? One of the filters is responsive. So you can look at only free themes that are responsive. The Photo Karate theme is fully responsive as well. So lots of options to choose from. To sell images, it's very, very, very easy as well. So what I'm going to do real quick is go to e-commerce. I can create a price list. And I'll call it test, flat rate of $5 shipping, call it an 8x10, and make it $5. You can also sell digital downloads. So I'm going to say 800 pixel, $5, and make it 800 pixel download. So now I can sell a print, an 8x10 print, $5. I did that really quick. Sell a print for $5, or I can sell an 800 pixel download for $5. And if I go back to that post, where did I do that? Pages, I think I did it. Yeah. And I bring this back up, so I can click on that, re-edit the gallery. I'm going to switch it to Pro Thumbnail Grid. Actually, I'll go to Pro Film. And still want to, first, I got to enable that price list on this gallery before I do that. So I'm going to just do that, test. OK. And now enable e-commerce. I can even enable proofing. And save, update. Now if I view the page, it should show me the e-commerce options. So you can see now that I've switched from a masonry style to what's called Pro Film. Basically, Pro Film is a thumbnail, and you can add a border or background image behind it. Sort of like a Polaroid type look that you can customize. Below that are 4 different triggers. That one opens the lightbox as it was, as if you're just clicking on the thumbnail. The other opens the lightbox with the comment slider open, so you can comment on individual images. You can also share to Twitter, Google+, Facebook, and Pinterest. The next is e-commerce. So you can actually open an e-commerce tab, and here's the, all that stuff. So you can see the download options. You can go through it, and everything changes. So if you want to override, one image is not for sale, you can do that, and it won't be for sale. Or if you want to change the price list per images, you can do that as well. There's also the star icon right here, and this is for proofing. So I can check off that star. If I exit, now that star is actually starred here as well. So proofing, basically, your customer selected what photos they want you to edit, hit submit proofs, put in the name and email address. It then emails you a list, a comma-separated list of all the files that they selected. You load that list into Lightroom in a search, contains these file names, and it'll pull up all those images that you need to edit now. Very quick, painless, simple. So that's basically the next-gen plugin in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it, but it's very basic. So I think that's it.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.